All right, I'm pleased to be sort of back in Miami via this video with Richard Brilliant, executive with Carnival Cruise Lines. Richard, your background, which I know to some degree, is pretty impressive. Gator undergrad, we could debate that, but masters at one of the best hospitality colleges in the country, Florida International University, executive leadership at Harvard. As you said in an early video, you were in consulting, a unique consulting position with a CPA firm, and Carnival was innovative enough to bring you on in what I call a consultative audit position, if you will. The rest is history, as they say. Share with us how this all evolved, and are you at the point in your career where this is what I always wanted to be when I grew up?
Oh God, I hope not. Life is about learning, and
right.
So is audit in many ways, right? And if you're someone that's curious and loves to learn, there's probably no better function in an organization to be in than audit, because it's something different every day. And look, you never know where your career will go, and you go to great effort to manage it and to set yourself up for opportunities, but no one can say for certain what's out there. And for me, I'm hopeful and optimistic that there will be more opportunity. A lot of auditors say is their life after audit, and in our organization, we've seen plenty of examples of that. So it's a big organization, it's a global organization, a lot of exciting things are happening, so part of it. But to your first point on how I got to where I am today, I mentioned this briefly in one of our earlier video chats, it really had to do with someone who saw potential in me where I didn't see potential. It was an accounting professor at FIU, and it's someone who I still keep in touch with today. And she was able to see aptitude that I had in finance and accounting and encouraged me to go a route that others weren't. She suggested I take an internship with, at the time, was Kenneth Leventhal and Company. It's now, for many years, merged with EY. And that internship turned into a full-time job. And that's where I picked up a lot of those basic skills that anyone should get, whether it's organization, professional presence, even certain computer skills. And we're talking about a point in time where the computer was still a novelty. So
yeah, tell me about it. You brought up a good point before about if I can recall right now, about you touch almost every aspect, if not every aspect, of the business when you're in a position that you're in, and the way you do your position. It's a corporate environment on the one hand, but it's also critical, at least compliance-wise for sure, as a public company. But again, you're in a role where you actually see the whole business, talk to the people in all parts of the businesses. How do you balance, the audit and compliance part with consulting and recommending and partnering with other leaders in the company for the benefit? It's got to be the benefit of the people and the company, because the company is about people, as you said before.
Sure. And we have professional standards as auditors that we have to abide by in order to maintain our independence. I should let you and your viewers know that the name of the department is not audit. It's risk advisory and assurance services. So we look at the business through the lens of risk, and we can provide value either through advisory services or through assurance, which may speak more to the compliance note that you mentioned earlier. We have to be careful. If we help design something in the business, we have to have precautions so we don't audit what we've created.
Right.
If you think about, I don't know, Mark, think about when you visit your physician. They may advise you on how you should live your life, diet and exercise. And then they can provide some assurance as to whether or not those activities are yielding benefits. They can take your blood pressure, they can look at your blood and do other tests. So there's no conflict there, per se. And in many ways, when I'm trying to explain to people how we help the organization achieve its objectives through managing risk, it's both that advisory function and the assurance function together in line with professional standards and with a good tone, because tone does mean a lot. It's not just what you say, but how you say, particularly in our profession, that really helps you deliver on the vision of what audit can be.
Do you find that, in your industry, you're kind of in the hotel business, the restaurant business, the supply chain business, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera? It's got to be interesting. Are they similar? Are they different? Give us a little sense of that.
Well, it is a complex business, and it's impressive to me to see how it all comes together every day. When you think about a cruise ship, casino, right? You didn't
Oh, casino, right?
was on board. And keep in mind, a cruise ship can have easily 1,000 crew on board in addition to the guests.
Mm-hmm.
So have to manage a whole HR function on board. We have a hospital on board. For our guests, if they need medical attention, we can provide that on board. But the real reason those facilities exist is because it's the primary care center for our crew,
right?
The vessels. And then there's a whole technical operation. Take the most complicated Vegas hotel, put an engine on it, set it to sea, and do it as well as our ships do.
Mm-hmm.
But you get the point. It is very complex, and it requires a lot of coordination, a lot of planning. And fortunately, I've had time over the 23 years I've been with the company to learn about these various aspects. But I have to tell you, hand over my heart, I haven't learned it all. There's still more to go.
Well, that's what makes it more interesting. I've obviously had the opportunity to work within the cruise industry as well, and different searches, different disciplines, etc. You're dealing, as you said, with yet 1,000 people on a crew. That's amazing on a ship. You're dealing with different levels. You're dealing with different cultures too, from all over the world. Not to mention the rules that you have, finance and accounting, etc., health, risk. It's a hell of a challenge. I mean, how do you balance all that? How do you take care of that? There's a lot of parts.
Yeah, no, there is, and it's a great point, and thank you for asking that. I will tell you that it has been one of the biggest challenges of the job, but it's also been one of the biggest treats. Whenever I interview people, they ask me, what do you love most about your job? And I say, the ability to interact with different cultures. And we have so many cultures because we are a global company. Whether we're talking about the culture in Europe, whether it's Italy or the UK, or even here at home, because I'll tell you, there is a cultural difference between the East Coast and the West Coast, and I think
there is.
But how we've dealt with it as a challenge in our department is to set up functions globally. So it's not a function where all of the audit resources are in Miami and we just fly them out. We have individuals in Italy, for example. They are Italian. They understand Italian culture. They speak the language.
Mm-hmm.
They follow the same policies and procedures and set of standards that we set in Miami. But by having individuals who really, truly understand culture, language remotely, that has been, and I think will continue to be, a success factor. We're moving into Asia next week. I'll be in Shanghai, and I'll be figuring out how we can sort of recreate that. And that's an area I need to understand better, but it's the same sort of challenge.
Ni hao. I know a few words in Che, whatever, a few words there. My oldest son's 26 now. He's in New York, graduated UCF, School of Hospitality up there. Loves customer experience, loves restaurants. Between you and me and everybody else watching, I think he's crazy because it's a tough business. But what advice would you give young leaders as they plan and then they're in their early stages of career building, what they should be thinking about, what they should be planning?
Well, I think if you're talking about career building in general, it's never too early to start networking. So I would advise any young person today to meet as many people as they possibly can. And for your son, who is crazy enough to want to go into this hospitality business, I think I would tell him to not forget that the word business comes along with hospitality. Now, he may have a penchant for hospitality because it's exciting and he understands the power and profitability of a high level of guest service and experience. But at the same time, it is a business. Mm-hmm. So just like my accounting professor was able to light a fire and understand that there was more for me via business, whether it's accounting or consulting. And think about what's happening today, Mark, with technology, with disruptive technologies.
Right.
All of the online tools, apps have completely changed the game. They weren't around when I started in the business. Certainly, you as well, you can connect with that. So I would tell any young person today to really embrace technology. They used to say that the language of business was accounting. I don't know anymore.
Yeah.
It could be, everything related to social media. It could be everything related to app development. So that would be advice. That's advice I would like to hear if I was starting out today.
No, I think it's good advice. You're basically talking people and technology. combined. If you get that down pat, I think you're in pretty good shape. So we got some personal questions for you. We're not sneaking in any really personal questions, at least not yet. But do you have a pet?
Yeah, I do actually. I have a dog. When the dog's acting up, it's my wife's dog, and she's a puppy. So her name is Bree. She's just 7 months old. Real man dog, multi-poop. So cute as can be, and really loving to get to know the dog.
Cool. Well, we're going to be asking for pictures soon of everybody we've interviewed because somebody suggested we do something called Pets and Their Executives. So be ready for that. Do you have a favorite activity or sport?
Well, you don't get a body like this from sports, right? So, I am a big foodie. I think it probably links to the hospitality background.
Mm-hmm.
And a big follower of restaurants, chefs, restaurant companies, small independents. Anything that I can read about food and food operators, I'm all over it. And I also have a particular love for whiskey. I've really come to appreciate over the last few years the whole process of creating whiskey, in particular Scotch. And I spent a lot of time with a local club, tasting whiskeys and exploring that.
Very cool. I saw this special on 60 Minutes real quick where they talked about those little islands off of Scotland, I guess. That's all they do is brew Scotch over there.
Sure. Probably Isla or the Orkneys.
Well, I don't remember the name, but and they had tasters. I keep trying to apply for the job, but no response. Do you have? Yeah. How about? Do you have a favorite movie or TV show?
I don't watch a lot of TV, and when I do, it's usually one of the science shows. Not science fiction, science fact. I love
cool.
Anything related to the cosmos. I'm also watching food shows and history, big history buff. So I like to read books about different things that have happened in history. More of a fact guy than a fiction guy. I
think we need to get back to some history because it repeats itself, and we should know what happened in the past. Do you have a favorite book, music, combination? Any of those two?
Listen, if you listen to my iPod, if you saw the playlists, you would definitely think I would need some therapy. It is so eclectic and it is so mixed. Everything from hip-hop to classical, lounge music, R&B, show tunes. It's really bizarre. I think I need some help.
Well, I just saw an article I was sharing with my sons in everything that's going to happen in the future, and they were talking about how, aside from pizza being delivered by drones, there's going to be technology that's going to be able to check your mood and change your music accordingly as it happens. So get ready for that.
New ring of the new millennium.
Absolutely. So here's the big question then for you is, as a foodie, do you have a favorite food?
I don't. I love all food. And you know what? People don't understand me because they always think because I'm a foodie, I want to go for the very expensive, high-end, 5-star restaurant. But really, for me, it's about those small independent restaurants where a mom and pop are just showing love for food and hospitality. That's where it's at for me.
I'm with you. Thanks so much for sharing all that.
A pleasure, Mark. Be well.